Hello, welcome to Community Matters. My name is Becky Steinbruner, and I am honored to be your host here on SantaCruzVoice.com for the next 2 hours. I want to thank you for tuning in and encourage you to stay tuned in throughout the 2 hours. I think we've got some very interesting guests and information that you will find of interest, and hopefully you will call in and join the conversations. My first half hour here, I'm going to be giving a scattering of things, public announcements and information about upcoming County Board of Supervisor meetings. And then at 2:30, I will have a call-in guest, Mr. Amin AbuAmara, calling in. He is with the Santa Cruz County Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission, and he will be, talking with us about what the Regional Transportation Commission did yesterday. It was quite amazing. This is regarding the rail trail. And also I'm hoping in the half hour that he has available today to give us, we may need to call him back in because this is such a huge topic. He'll also be talking about what's happening in the other areas of the rail trail that the board commissioners did not really address yesterday, as well as other work going on Highway 1. So that will be 2:30 to 3. And then in the second hour, I will be very honored to have here in studio with me Mr. John Kennedy, who is one of 3 private well representatives on the Santa Cruz Mid-County Groundwater Agency. And you will learn all about that, what private well owners can expect going into the future in terms of regulations, maybe permitting, meters. Most are already metered. But John is the chairman of the Mid-County Groundwater Agency, so you'll learn about that group as well. And I'm really glad that he can be here today. So that'll be, 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. So, and you have to excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold, but getting much better, so bear with me. I also want to take an opportunity to say thank you to Satellite Workspace and Digital Media Center for hosting the Santa Cruz Voice studio here. We are going to be moving at the end of this month, but it is a fabulous place. Let me tell you, if you're looking for a place that is clean, quiet, and secure to do some of your remote work, whether that's just a workspace or maybe you need a small private meeting room, they have it here, and you should come check it out. It is a great place. It's at 325 SoCal Avenue in Santa Cruz. They have tours. Most days there's a receptionist at the front lobby, and you can have a look around, and on the second Wednesday of the month it is free to come use and try it out. So I urge you to do that. All right, the first thing I want to talk about is announcing a couple of really great things in our community. First of all, I want to give a plug for the Santa Cruz Host Lions Club Christmas tree lot. They are down in the area of Costco. Don't buy your Christmas tree at Costco. Go a little further down the road toward the Portuguese Hall and buy it from the Santa Cruz Host Lions Club. They have freshly cut trees from Oregon that have just been brought in. They keep their trees in troughs of water. And all proceeds from this tree sales goes to help benefit local charities and local projects. The Santa Cruz Host Lions Club is a great club. They've been in existence. I think they're one of the oldest Lions clubs in the state, and they have the youth there helping them, scouts, youth groups from schools helping them, and they'll load that beautiful tree onto your car and secure it, and you can drive home and have a great tree and know that you are helping the local community by helping the Santa Cruz Host Lions Club. They're there every evening, and they're there every weekend until, I think, December 16th. So go get your tree. They're going fast, and they're beautiful. The other thing I really want to talk about is tomorrow at the Rio Theater in Santa Cruz, there is an event happening called Rising at the Rio for the holidays, and it begins at 4:30. This is a fundraiser for Rising Worldwide. Rising Worldwide is a local nonprofit that helps people who have been ensnared in human trafficking, which is the new word for slavery, both labor trafficking and sex trafficking. This Rising Worldwide group helps people escape safely and begin to recover and heal. It's a lifelong journey, and they help them. It is of all volunteer effort, and they are holding an event tomorrow night at the Rio Theater, and please go if you can. It's a great group. And many people don't want to think about this topic, but it is indeed happening in Santa Cruz County. Last year's Santa Cruz County Civil Grand Jury did a good report on this, a good investigation. You can find that report on the Santa Cruz County Civil Grand Jury website under reports, 24-25 year reports. It's human trafficking in Santa Cruz County, signs unseen, voices unheard. And read through that report if you don't believe me. It is happening, and with two very large events scheduled next year, just on the other side of the hill, the World Cup and the Super Bowl. Those events are magnets for the demand for human trafficking, sex trafficking, labor trafficking. And so our youth here especially are very much at risk because of social media and the very sophisticated traffickers that are able to locate youth and convince them, recruit them, groom them into becoming ensnared in the sex trafficking, labor trafficking tragedy. So tomorrow night, 4:30, Rising at the Rio for the holidays. Help them raise money to help people get out, but also they do wonderful programs for free at our schools, our local schools, to really educate our youth to be careful, what to look out for, and to recognize the signs of a potential human trafficker. So, Rising at the Rio tomorrow night, 4:30. I urge you to go. Now, I wanted to also give you just a sneak preview of what's happening with our county's battery energy storage project. Next week, I hope to have someone or something definitive to read from someone at the California Energy Commission. There's been great discussion of late by our County Board of Supervisors. On November 18th, they held a meeting to discuss the potential new rules for Santa Cruz County to allow these large grid-scale lithium battery storage containers facilities in our county. There is already one in permit process at 19 Minto Road in Watsonville, right next to a large subdivision of working class folks, the Shapiro Knolls Affordable Housing Project. And these rules, in my opinion, are being written by this developer so that their project can be quickly swept through. And it is painfully obvious to see that our new county administrative officer is in cahoots on it, even going so far as to asking the developer, John Swift, to give guidance to our county staff. And you can see that if you go to Government on Demand, Community Television, look at the November 18th County Board of Supervisors meeting at about it's toward the end, hour 7. It was a long day. The CAO makes that request, and Mr. Swift is all too happy, but to oblige and say that he thinks his client will accept the county's motion to put this off a little bit longer. The Board of Supervisors specified March. But guess what? The very next day, our county information officer, Mr. Jason Hoppin, released and contacted local media with a news release that the date had been moved up to January 13th. So let me tell you, folks, we need to be paying attention. We need to be speaking up. And you can do that next Tuesday, December 9th. The Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors will be meeting at 9 a.m. They're meeting in the Capitola City Council chambers, and that's because the usual chambers where they meet at 701 Ocean Street is being remodeled. Yes, folks, being remodeled extensively on public money dime. And so go to the Capitola City Council chambers. That's just across the street from the fire station there, and next to the city hall and the police station. There's plenty of parking up above, and I urge you to go in person if you can, or participate remotely. And you can find that information all by searching for Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors, clicking on meeting materials, and it will come up with their schedule, and you can click on the December 9th agenda. There are some very interesting things on that agenda. First of all, just know that the public comment at which you could speak about this battery energy storage issue is very early. So they take in-person comment first. It's limited to 2 minutes per person, and then they go to online. But stay online if you are going to be doing that, and make your thoughts known. The rule that a lot of people are not aware of, and they are not written and explained well in the public comment, is that if there's something you want to comment on that's on the regular agenda, you cannot speak about it at that time. You have to wait for that agenda item to come up. And that was a problem at the last meeting. The chairman, Felipe Hernandez, rudely kept a woman from being able to talk about a process, an administrative process that he, I think, misinterpreted as her comment on something that was going to be later in the day. In fact, it was the BESS ordinance. And it became quite disruptive, and he threatened to shut the room down and clear everybody out. It was uncalled for, but it is not clearly known. It's a new rule that the Board of Supervisors adopted, that if you want to talk about something that's on the regular agenda, you have to wait. until they get around to it. And sometimes you never know when that's going to be. But on the consent agenda, now you can talk about something on the consent agenda, and you should at the very beginning, because that's the only chance you're going to get to talk about it. The county is prepared to take over maintenance of Aptos Creek Road. Now, I don't know how far in that's going to go, but if you live on Aptos Creek Road, you know what potholes are. And right now, from just as you enter into Nisene Mark State Park, that is all maintained by State Park. So I'm curious to find out a little more about this, how far in it goes. The county they do maintain the first, I think it's 150 feet of the road. They recently removed on-street parking there, which has been a big problem for people who want to park their car and ride their bikes into the park, not to escape the fees, but just because it's a good ride in there. It's an old railroad bed, 2% grade, and it's really great. You got to watch the potholes once you get off the paving, but the amount of parking within Nisene Mark State Park right now is greatly reduced because the state parks is doing a big bathroom construction project at the main kiosk area, and also further in at George's Picnic area near the Steel Bridge. So there is not much parking within the park itself, and that has itself caused problems in the past with safety and delaying public first responders to get in. So anyway, that's on the agenda, consent agenda, item number 36. Also on the consent agenda, item number 42, is the county's plan to put in sidewalks all along Soquel Drive in Aptos from State Park Drive to Freedom Boulevard. Now that's going to be something to see because from about Aptos Village, say Trout Gulch Road, heading south, there really is no place for a sidewalk. So how are they going to do that? You know, we'll have to see. Item number 42, that will add sidewalks on both sides of Soquel Drive in the areas between State Park Drive and Freedom Boulevard. Item number 42. And these numbers may change because they changed the agendas sometimes at the last minute. So, but just know that those items are on. And also the county's fire code, which is completely silent on the battery energy storage issue. Completely silent. And if you ask me, doing that puts our first responders at risk. So take a look at that. That's item 15, and then there's another one, item 21, on the consent agenda. But show up, pay attention, and let your voice be heard, because we are the people, we are the powerful fourth arm of government, and we need to be paying attention and holding our elected officials accountable. If you have anything you'd like to call in and talk about, feel free to do so. My guest, Mr. Amin AbuAmara, will be calling in about half an hour. About 5 minutes. So we have some time. Now, I will just kind of jump into the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission meeting yesterday. It was at the Watsonville City Council meeting chambers. And again, they're spread out too because 701 Ocean Street is all being remodeled. And it was a very interesting meeting. It was a very long meeting and one of the most confusing meetings that I have ever been in. I go to a lot of meetings, and what they did, I don't even know if they understood what they were doing. But hopefully Mr. AbuAmara will fill us in. And perhaps you've read today's Santa Cruz Sentinel talking about it. There was also an article in the Lookout Santa Cruz and Santa Cruz Local. The rail trail project is, the corridor is one of the most divisive, I think, issues in our county since widening Highway 1. and it includes that too. So in different sections of the county, the Regional Transportation Commission bought the rail corridor from Union Pacific, Southern Pacific, back in 2014, I think it was, or 2012. Excuse me, just a minute. And with the idea of providing a passenger rail. A couple years after that, the local officials added the Monterey Bay Scenic Trail to that corridor. And that became the nexus of rail and trail. It was initially purchased for passenger rail. It is a freight rail service line. So that's the initial intent of that line. And so the current carrier, Progressive Rail, is a freight rail company out of Minnesota. And so they have an agreement until 2028 to be responsible for and use the rail corridor. They only use about the first 3 miles in Watsonville, and they have 3 or 4 customers that they actually do bring in items by rail, maybe take it out too. And so they only are using that first 3 miles. They are responsible for maintaining the entire 32-mile corridor. And they have not been, but also the Regional Transportation Commission has not required them to maintain it. That was kind of an interesting little piece that was in focus yesterday at this meeting. So Mr. AbuAmara will be talking with us about that. And what the commission decided after first they had a very good presentation about rail banking. That was one thing that in September the commission had asked staff to do, was to present a comprehensive report about rail banking. And if you're confused about that, what rail banking is taking out the tracks, but with the idea that you could put them back in the future at any time. That doesn't happen in theory. I guess there are a couple of short segments in other areas of the country it has, but generally it does not. But what it does is it preserves the easements as they are. And if you abandon the tracks, then you lose all that. And what they did not talk about yesterday was if they abandon the tracks, then do they have to give back the $16 million grant money that they got to purchase the rail corridor? They didn't even talk about that. I thought that was interesting. But what they did say was that there was a good explanation of it, and then the next item was a discussion and ultimately an approval of, with some amendments, of what became known as the Koenig-Keeley Peace Letter that amended things and allowed for pieces of the sections of the rail in the Live Oak area predominantly to be used for something else. And I think that our guest is calling in, I'm hoping. So my question, and I'm hoping that Mr. AbuAmara can help us understand this, is if the commission voted to, was called the interim trail yesterday, to build the trail on top of the railroad tracks in this section. What will that do to future rail use? And how will that be compatible with what Progressive Rail wants to do? Here is my guest. Let me bring him on. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Becky. Yes,
Hello.
I can hear you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Mr. AbuAmara.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I know you are very busy, and we're very grateful for your time today. May I call you Amin?
Of course. Yes,
Thank you.
please.
Thank you. You invited me to do that in the email, so usually
I
I'm
did.
not so forward. So thank you very much. Thank you. I was
My
just
pleasure.
giving the audience a little bit of a summary of yesterday's meeting with the Regional Transportation Commission, but I'd like you first to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do at the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission.
Sure. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name, again, is Amin, last name AbuAmara. I am the Director of Capital Projects at RTC. I've joined RTC about 8 months ago, and basically our division of capital projects oversee the projects that are currently going, environmental studies, design, and construction. We also participate with our planning division and the programming and other divisions at the RTC on whichever need that they basically encounter. For example, we have our rail property division takes care of the maintenance and ongoing preservation of our rail line that the RTC owns, and we also participate with our planning and programming division with funding needs that we go for grants that we're very lucky in the last few years to get really very good and prominent grants that are helping the region to facilitate good transportation projects. So that's in a nutshell what we do at Capital Projects.
Thank you. That's a big job. There are a lot of projects on your desk, I think.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of really important projects for the county, for the cities, and for our constituents in the Santa Cruz County as a whole.
Yes, indeed. Well, many people who may drive on Highway 1 see the work going on there. Do you want to talk with us a little bit about that? Because I know there are three phases of the Highway 1 improvement project. Do you want to give us a little bit of an overview of that, please?
Absolutely. So we have our Corridor 1 in the county that there was a vision a few years ago to basically add auxiliary lanes to a segment of Highway 1 that is very congested. And these auxiliary lanes have multiple purposes. Auxiliary lane meaning that it's not an adding capacity lane. It's basically a lane that connects an exit to the next exit on the highway. And the reason, there are a few reasons for it. One of the reasons is basically if you want to move from a particular area in city of Santa Cruz or the county to the next area, south or north, and instead of really jamming the two through lanes, you could use these auxiliary lanes and get out on the exit and get in from the on-ramp and get out of the off-ramp without really increasing capacity. And at the same time, there was this thought of, why don't we also utilize these auxiliary lanes for our transit system, for the buses? And there is this idea that came about a few years ago, which is having the bus utilize the shoulder between the off-ramps and the on-ramps where the cars cannot use. It's under the bridges, basically, under the interchange bridges. In that area of the shoulder, which you could see your constituents, your audience has probably noticed the red paint on the shoulders under the bridges. That kind of basically is what we call bus and shoulder, or BOS, which in the future, hopefully the near future, when the segment 2, and I'm going to talk about the segments now, and then the next segment that is between Bay Porter Avenue and State Park, once this construction is almost done, early 2027, we will be the transit system Metro will be able to have their buses drive all the way from Morrissey until State Park on these shoulders, and saving these few precious minutes that the other whether individuals or carpool, the buses will be able to save these few minutes, be faster than the regular traffic, because they can use the auxiliary lanes and the bus and shoulder areas to have a continuous drive on that. So these are the reasons for the projects that are going on the corridor, as well as also building the pedestrian overcrossings that are connecting both north and south areas of city of Santa Cruz and Capitola, and then the next phases in Aptos. The projects are you are right. There are 3 projects. One of them is almost completely constructed, which is from Soquel Drive going south all the way to 41st Avenue, and that one, a few months ago, we celebrated the ribbon cutting of the Chanticleer pedestrian overcrossing. Which,
the whale crossing, it's known as.
The whale crossing, exactly. This project is scheduled for a total completion early next year, like in a couple of months. And meanwhile, we started the second segment, which takes it from 41st, which is just a little bit south of 41st, which is Bay Porter Avenue interchange, and further south to State Park Drive. Again, the same concept, the widening of where we need to construct the auxiliary lanes between the interchanges in that segment, as well as the bus and shoulder piece, and then also the Mar Vista pedestrian overcrossing that you probably and your audience has started. That we started construction on that in the last few weeks.
Yes, you can see those.
I think there was a question that. This is expected to be completed in about 7 to 8 months.
Oh,
because it has a lot of work on both sides of the highway, as well as in the median to build on the sides, build the abutments of the bridge, as well as the vents in the middle. So this is the second segment. And the third segment is in final design. We're done with almost 95% of design, where it's going to take it from State Park Drive down south to Freedom Boulevard exit. Again, it's now about 2 2-mile segment that will have the same thing, and it'll have also pedestrian overcrossings, as well as the replacement of 2 rail bridges.
Yeah, that's going to be huge.
So these are the projects on Highway 1 that are going on right now in this segment. There is, of course, there's a project on Highway 1 North in the north. That's a trail project that FHWA is the administering agency, and that's basically building the trail from Davenport all the way to Wilder Ranch, and it's part of our bigger trail network, and basically the trail along the branch rail line. So, yeah.
I have a question.
Maybe you have questions.
I do have a question because I live in that Aptos area, and I know that there are slated to be over 1,000 trees removed from that corridor between State Park and Freedom Boulevard. Do you have any news for us? Is that still in the works? When might we see those trees go away? Or are they going away?
Just a qualifying thought on the number of trees. The exact number of trees is still under the design phase, because our design, we are very conscious of how important the trees are for any area, and let alone the importance for Santa Cruz County with all these heritage trees and all that. So
yeah, they're big trees.
The number is, yeah, of course, the number is not totally defined yet, and the reason is that there are still some in the final designs. There are still some trying to mitigate as well as preserve as much of the trees as possible. Now, as you can imagine, with the widening that is expected for the auxiliary lanes, as well as constructing some basically longer bridges that will bridge several lanes, whether it's the rail bridges that's going to be replaced or the pedestrian bridges that are along the trail line, segment 12, which I think you also have some
going
questions
through
about.
Aptos Village. Yes,
exactly, going through Aptos. So there will be some an inevitable removal of some trees. So I don't have the number right now, but I think the number is less than that. But again, this is something that is still not quite finalized. However, having said that, though, we work with our mitigation agencies very diligently and throughout our environmental clearance process to identify places that we can mitigate. And you can imagine the mitigation is really intensive because of the value of these trees. So just wanted to make sure that, your audience understands that, there is not one single tree that's going to be removed unless we really have to remove it for that particular space. So
there was a group, the Campaign for Sustainable Transportation, that actually held a vigil last weekend for those big redwood trees. Do you know when, if those trees have to be removed, when that might happen?
So this will follow the project schedule. Currently, the segment 3 project schedule of course, we have Senate Bill 1 funding, Title 4 funding for this project, and we have deadlines that we have to abide by from the California Transportation Commission, and we have to allocate the funding for this project before the end of fiscal year 26-27, which basically puts us in around May, June of 27. That's kind of like when we will basically have the funding for this project, and we're expecting that construction might start in the fall of 2027.
Uh-huh.
Now, having said that, also it's worthy to note that in the past couple of board meetings, we have approached our board to approve what the staff recommended of a hybrid construction implementation for this big project, which is almost a $200 million project. Capital cost alone, other than the construction management and construction administration piece, and our approach was that if and we worked with Caltrans intensively on this subject, that Caltrans would take on the implementation of construction as they did for segment 1 from Soquel to First, and as they're doing right now for segment 2 from Bay Porter Avenue interchange to State Park, that they take on also the implementation from State Park Drive down south to Freedom. And we worked with them extensively, and they are willing and able, and they accepted that we are going right now through the process of making sure that we have 2 construction packages. One would be for the trail, which is out of the state right-of-way, which is basically the trail segment 12, which takes it from a little bit north of the interchange with State Park, and then going through the village, the Aptos village, and then going south until the end of segment 12 by Sumner Drive. So this one, the RTC will be the implementing agency. We are in the process of basically making sure that all the plans and specifications for both of these 2 big projects will be divided and will be basically known where exactly the touch points between what's going to be expected as 2 contracts and two construction contracts, and probably 2 contractors. Maybe if we're lucky, we'll get the same contractor. But that's what's going on right now also. This process will take about, for the next few months to a year to split and make the packages ready.
Thank you for that explanation. This makes me think about what I heard at the Regional Transportation Commission meeting yesterday, and we're going to pivot over into the rail trail portion of this discussion. The commission yesterday voted to segments 8 through 11 to not do a rail project, but instead build a trail over that rail. Did I understand that? It was a very confusing process, but can you verify that with for our listeners what the commission actually voted on, and if in doing that pretty much negates any chance of a passenger rail?
Okay. So,
and I'm saying this because if we're not going to have a rail project, then would those 2 rail bridges going over Highway 1 as part of segment 12 have to be rebuilt when they're ripped out to widen Highway 1? That's kind of what is leading one to the other here.
Right. No, absolutely. These are excellent questions, and I just want to say an overarching thing, and I've been only with the RTC for 8 months, but I have been, of course, at every board meeting, and I really see the very genuine approach of all members of the commission, that they really are living up and trying to act on behalf of the voters to satisfy the soul of the Measure D and what the voters voted for in every single action. And I see even when every commissioner is debating or putting their point of view across, all of this is back to what the voters are requesting, have intended. So basically, the commission is working and walking the fine line of keeping basically everything alive, everything that the voters have voted for alive. The trail, making it alive. The rail is still alive, and as well as the highway, of course. So and the way that they're doing this is that they're again walking the fine line, that because we have, and you have probably heard this in the meeting before, we have about $120 million of grants that we got. The biggest active transportation
yes.
project
Ever
grant that we
awarded.
got throughout the state history.
Yes.
We got it here in the second smallest county of the whole of California. So this is a very big thing to the commission. This is very good, very big achievement for the whole county. And the commission is very keen on keeping this money and not losing it. We have the county and the city of Santa Cruz, who are implementing segments 8 through 11, are very keen on keeping this money. And because of the last few years, construction costs have really gone up a lot, that the ultimate trail, if you look, there is the ultimate trail that is basically the original idea that the trail, along with the rail, will go side by side. At this point, with the increased construction costs for these segments from, and I'll leave 8 aside a little bit because 8 is not totally effective, but 9 through 11, it was.
And that's basically through Live Oak and into Capitola, is that correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was kind of proving to be almost impossible to build according to the original plan, which was have the trail next to the rail. And what the commission did in the last few meetings, realizing that we could have, if we don't go ahead with the construction of the trail, basically to what we told the CTC, the California Transportation Commission, is that we could lose this grant. So this was the solution of the interim trail, and the interim trail is basically utilizing the rail line as an interim project for the interim trail, and thus having the trail in a very quick and cost-effective process to be utilized by the bicyclists and pedestrians, but at the same time preserve the long-range goal of still having the option of going for the rail. So this was the balance that the commission was doing yesterday. And to be honest, I think they did a great job of preserving this balance. They asked staff to come back in a couple of months with suggestions of how we can go ahead implementing the interim trail. And of course, the staff will include the county as well as the city of Santa Cruz, because they are part of this with us. But at the same time, not having to do the adverse abandonment of the rail, as well as not having to do the rail banking. So in the next couple of months, so there are some things that are still yet to be seen based on further studies and the design teams meeting and trying to come up with proper designs that will satisfy whatever the commission had asked and tasked the staff to do. So
I also want to just interject in here.
The rail is still alive, albeit on the longer run of the horizon. The trail is alive, and we're keeping the grants by utilizing the interim trail idea. And of course, as far as the rail bridges, because you asked about the rail bridges, whether they have to be replaced or not, they have to be replaced because there is widening at that area where the rail bridges are. There is the widening for the auxiliary lanes. So we have to demo the older, the current bridge, rail bridges, and build new ones.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we will use this,
it seems like a lot of money when it's not likely, really, that there would be a train that would ever be able to go from Watsonville to Santa Cruz, because now this section has been made into a trail on the tracks. That's the piece I'm still scratching my head about, I mean.
So the direction, Becky, is that not to preclude that in the future they could come back and study the ultimate alignment of a trail, which is basically a trail next to the rail, and get back. We have to realize that the rail option has a lot of capital funds that at this moment they're not available, and then this goes into stages. So that, to your point, to know that the rail is also still, the commission is still trying to keep the spirit of the rail alive. They authorize funding to continue with the next phase, which is the environmental clearance of the rail, albeit even that is not completely funding, but there is some funding that is available to continue pursuing other funds, other state funds, federal funds, keeping the corridor ID, which is the corridor identification, federal program alive, keep continuing with the Caltrans Department of Rail, Division of Rail. So all of this, and they have said that, yes, that's fine, even if you do an interim. They are with us on the same page, that even if we do an interim on the rail, that's not gonna take us out of the corridor ID program. So that's why it's really very very intricate and very basically very thoughtful process that the commission is going through right now, of trying to keep everything on the table.
Can I ask one question?
Some faster than some.
Yeah, we're almost out of time. This has gone so quickly. I want to thank you. And there's one big question I know that the audience is wondering about. How will this affect those mobile home parks, the Blue and Gold and the Castle Mobile Home Park? What's this going to mean for them? We've got 30 seconds.
So what I heard yesterday, the commission was saying that the interim trail would kind of slow the process a little bit, albeit, again, to our director's, the executive director's point, Sarah, it's like, since we are dealing with public money and public funds, and this, the alignment of the rail that RTC owns is owned by the public, and so basically we cannot see an encroachment, and we cannot come and say, look, you're encroaching. So you either pay whatever the
market
equivalent
rate,
market price for it, or you have to take the encroachment out. So this is, we are trusted with the public funds, and that's what we have to do. But however, maybe the interim trail can probably slow this process a little bit. And I don't know, to be honest. This is kind of what I heard.
It's unfolding, isn't it? Well,
unfolding.
Amin, I want to thank you so much for your time. And we'll have to have you back. This is a big deal, and one of the most divisive issues in the county, I think, in a long time. So if you're willing, I'd love to invite you back in the near future.
Absolutely. I'm willing, and it will be my pleasure. And hopefully maybe after a couple of months, 3 months, things might be a little bit more clear.
Yes.
Please stay tuned. Our website is full of the Braille banking presentation is there on our website,
Excellent.
as well as the summary of what happened at the commission meeting yesterday. So please stay tuned and always look at our website.
And what is that website?
sccrtc.org.
All right. Very good. Thank you very much. Amin
My pleasure,
AbuAmara.
Becky.
Thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Okay, take care. Thank
Take
you for
care.
having me. Take care.
My
Bye bye.
pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
So we're going to take a little break here. Stay tuned. I'm going to go out and get my guest from outside, Mr. John Kennedy with the Mid-County Groundwater Agency. Stay tuned.
think much about that. If we, here we go. Let's see.
Okay, we're going to go on now.
Okay. All right.
Sorry. Hello, welcome back to Community Matters. I'm still your host. I'm still named Becky Steinbrenner, and I'm still honored to be your host here for the next hour remaining. I want to thank my previous guest, Mr. Amin AbuAmara from the Regional Transportation Commission, for taking time out of his day to talk with us about the projects on the highway and the rail trail. And now we're going to pivot to water. I am honored to have here in the studio with me Mr. John Kennedy. He is one of 3 private well representatives on the Santa Cruz Mid-County Groundwater Agency, and I'm going to turn it over to him to introduce himself and tell us more about what is the Mid-County Groundwater Agency and how do people learn more about that.
Thanks, Becky. Thank you for inviting me in. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I've been involved with the MGA, which is Mid-County Groundwater Agency, which is what we decided to call it, since its inception, which started in 2017. So let me just back up and say the basin that we are responsible for managing, and we are responsible to the state. The state has a law called the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act that was passed in, I think, 2014 and became into effect in 2015. Requires all groundwater basins that have a level of priority. Let's say there's several levels, but if they have a priority, they have to file a groundwater sustainability plan with the state Department of Water Resources, and that had to be done by January of 2020. Mm-hmm. And that law that passed, which not all states have, it's interesting that California has it, to require people to manage, measure, and take steps to make sure that the basin will be sustainable over a long period of time. So the state requires it to be, the first piece is 20 years, from 2020 to 2040, but then it has to have an extension of sustainability for another 30 or 40 years.
And what do you mean by sustainable? What does it mean? Yeah,
that was an interesting thing when we started talking about it at the beginning. But let's say what the state means, because that's what we're stuck with. The state basically has 6 measures that you have to avoid. So they sort of define it in the don't do these things kind of way. But basically what they're after is to make sure that there's a reasonable amount of drinking water to sustain the community and the streams and the fish in the streams for this long period of time, in such a way that people will be healthy and safe, and that we won't degrade the water that's in the ground. Now, this is all about groundwater, so let's just stop and say for a minute, the city of Santa Cruz gets almost all of its water from San Lorenzo River and northern streams. And so they have a different, they're part of this, but because they have some wells in the Pleasure Point area, and they use them to supplement their water delivery, but they're mainly a river water, so that's surface water. This is about groundwater, which is water that's stored in aquifers underneath the ground, and some people would say it's been there for thousands of years, but it's replenished by rainwater that comes down from the mountains. But that replenishment, although it happens for those of us like you and me that live up into the hills a little bit, that happens more quickly. For the people down on the coastal plain, it is a longer term process of years and years to replenish it. So if we have these cycles of wet and dry years, it takes some time for that rain to percolate down into the aquifers. So I'm getting ahead of myself. So Sigma, we have a law. We have to comply with it. We formed a groundwater management agency, which the official term from the state is Groundwater Sustainability Agency. And they want everyone who has a groundwater basin which is in some level of distress to form a plan and file it with the state, and they have to approve it or not. And the idea is, people say, well, why do you have to do that? Well, if you don't do that, the state can come in and take over the control of your drinking water, of your groundwater, and what they would do is reduce the amount that everyone uses. So taking a step back, this history goes back for our area. Let me describe. Our groundwater basin is basically from Ransiforte Creek, or Yacht Harbor, if you want to say that, all the way down to southern La Selva, and from up in the mountains just south of Summit Road, all the way to the ocean. So that's the Mid-County Groundwater Basin. And we are responsible then at this agency for maintaining its sustainability and monitoring it over time to ensure that we're meeting those state requirements. And you asked about those. So groundwater levels, the amount of water stored in the aquifers, seawater intrusion, those are making sure that the streams get enough water from the groundwater and people aren't sucking out all the water so the streams don't get any water. There's also a land subsidence, but in our county, we're not really subject to that. We don't have land subsidence.
It's more the Central Valley areas.
Oh, there are places in the Central Valley where there have been 30 or 40 feet of the land literally
Isn't that
lowering
amazing?
because they've sucked all the water out of, and you can't put it back in. You can say, well, wait a minute, there's aquifers under there. We just pump some more in there. The land doesn't move back up. So that's in the Central Valley with this. The reason the state put this in is because of a lot of the things that are going on, particularly in the Central Valley.
Yeah, and Salinas Valley somewhat too, huh?
Salinas Valley and Pajaro Valley. Pajaro Valley has 3 miles of seawater intrusion in their valley, and they've made themselves, they had an agency before this state law came into effect because they needed to manage that and work with it.
Yeah, it's been known to be a big problem there for a long time, and they're addressing it quite well.
And all the places that have agriculture and therefore pump a lot of water have serious concerns and issues. So as you said, Salinas as well. And Pajaro has a whole program of having purple water, which is recycled water that they require the farmers to use if they're down near the coast. But it doesn't reach all the way up to our basin. It's only maybe 2 miles from our border. So as we get closer to our border, their Pajaro farmers are still using well water to irrigate right there at the boundary in La Selva. And in fact, that's one of the issues that we have, is that's a place where we still have too much water being pumped out, even by us, and we have some seawater intrusion there. And we can talk about that a little bit. But so there are these, essentially for us, 5 elements that we have to measure, and for each of them we have a series of monitoring wells and we track how they're doing against, and we have to set both a minimal threshold that we cannot go below or we've gone into undesirable results, and a management objective, which would be where we'd like it to be. And we have to be between those two, and not immediately, of course, but we have to get there by the time the 20 years is up. And we have milestones along the way that we have to show the state what those milestones are, that are
and that you're meeting them.
Progress toward that, yes.
And that's done how? How do you quantify all that and really show the state, we're doing a good job here?
We have hydrographs for each of these wells. And in some places, the monitoring wells are at the same location, are at several different levels in the ground. And we have to report to the state with those hydrographs, showing on the hydrographs, on the graph, how some of them are every 6 months, some of them are every month, what the measurements are, and where the minimum threshold is in one color line on the graph, and another one, the management objective above that. And then when we get to the ones where there are these interim things, you get a little diamond on there that show where those are. And of course, in wet part of the year, dry part of the year, these
they're very responsive,
move
aren't
up
they?
and down. Yeah, and it's a regular cycle of up and down. But we have to show these for the different. We have different monitoring points that we use for the different sustainability criteria that we have. But the major one, of course, is groundwater level.
Yeah.
And even for seawater intrusion, we use a series of 19 wells along the coast as proxies for seawater intrusion by looking at whether those ground levels are sufficiently high enough to keep the seawater from coming in. Usually what happens is there's a wedge of fresh water coming down, and the seawater is trying to come in, and the fresh water can kind of hold that in abeyance. But if you pump too much of the groundwater out, as we did for many years in the 80s and 90s, particularly, but we're still pumping more than we should.
Yeah.
Then that wedge can creep in, and so, like in Soquel Point, which is Pleasure Point area, there's a little bit of seawater intrusion there, and down in the seascape area, there are two of our wells where we see increasing levels of salinity in the water, not down at the bottom where you've talked about, where they drilled a well in order to get to where the saltwater interface went way back in the 80s. But at that location, there are actually 3 different wells. And the one we use is the medium one. It's the A level is the lowest, and the B level is higher. So that lowest well is at 460 feet deep, and the one that we use for the indicator is at 420 feet deep. And in that well, when we started back in late '86, you could see when we started measuring there, you could see that we were only at 20. I think it's milliliters per liter, mg, whatever the mg is, 20. It's a low number. What you want to be is under 150, essentially, for the amount of chloride in the water to meet a regular standard. So it started at 20, but now it's at over 400. So it's continued, and then in the middle years, it sort of settled out there between 2018 or so, but then it's continued now to climb, and so that's a concern. That, of course, we have to report that to the state and say that we're looking at other things to do, and we've done a number of things. In many of these locations, we've moved the commercial pumping further inland to get it away from degrading the water levels near the coast. And that's really worked well. Another thing I should say is that, when we talked about back in the 80s, we were using up to 8,000 acre feet a year. An acre foot is 326,000 gallons. but we go by acre feet. So we had over 8,000 acre feet a year in the 80s, and now we're down to about 4,700 acre feet a year in our basin, total, everybody.
And that's private well owners.
That's everybody.
Also.
So I should mention who's in the MGA. I'm sorry, I went off into the weeds. So the Mid-County Groundwater Agency is a joint powers agreement association of several entities: the county, the City of Santa Cruz Water Department, Soquel Creek Water Department, and Central Water Department, which are those three, SoCal, City, and Central, are the municipal purveyors in our basin. The county is there to sort of oversee things, and it has formal oversight over the small water systems. You live in an area where you're served by a small water system.
Yes.
And there are quite a few of our small water systems. I don't know if it's 13 or 15. A few of them have fallen away or were just outside of our borders. And I used to think of it as 19, but I think it's lower than that. But they serve, the small water systems in our basin serve about 460 parcels. And so the county has sort of oversight over that. They have to report to the county. But we private well owners are charged then with representing not only the residential individual parcels that have wells that are not served by a municipal agency, and then the small water systems, and then the institutional users. And there are like some camps and schools. And
Cabrillo College.
Cabrillo College uses, not for their students, but for their
irrigation.
What do you call their fields? The playing fields.
Athletic fields.
The athletic fields.
Which are kind of disappearing with that big housing project. But
well, they need more place for the students. They got to come up with it.
I know.
But yeah, so Cabrillo and the Seascape Golf Course and places like Kennelin or the Seventh-day Adventist Camp.
Right.
There are a few others like that. Aptos High is right on the border of our so they're really not, their well is not inside our basin. But they're, that's another example.
Yeah.
So, and then agriculture. But as we've looked into this more and more, we have very little agriculture in our basin compared to, for instance, in PVWMA, Pajaro, which is, I don't know what, 85% agriculture.
Huge.
Of all the water that they use. Whereas here, it's maybe 200 or 300 acre feet a year max.
Mostly vineyards, I'm thinking.
Well, a lot of the vineyards, it turns out, are dry farmed.
Oh.
So perhaps when they plant the vines, they have drip for a year. But most of the vineyards actually, once they're mature, they're just using rainfall, as they do in France, pretty much the same way. But the ag that we have is there's a large parcel or two, very much down by past Seascape, that still is farmed with truck farming with various kinds of vegetables that are grown and rotated. And that's
strawberries. I think some by Seascape.
There may be some inside. The strawberries start and become very big right past our boundary as you go up over where the dump is. There's a lot of strawberries up there, but that's outside of our basin also. So I'm not sure exactly what they grow. I think they change their. I think Lakeside Organics actually leases that land, and so I think they change what they grow. But that's the one major place that uses wells to irrigate agricultural. We've looked for other places. There are a couple of nurseries. There's a couple of things like that that are also commercial use of larger amounts than a house would use.
But relatively small compared to the acreages of the Pajaro Valley.
Oh, it's just so much different. Yeah. So we really are residential here, and we've done a very, very good job in Santa Cruz County of conserving the amount of water that individual people use. I mean, we're known for that now within the state, and there's not much more we can do, frankly. I mean, population has been relatively stable in our basin, although you see a lot of building out going on in Live Oak and in Santa Cruz. And Live Oak is a part of the basin, even though they are served by the Santa Cruz City Water Department. All the way to 41st Avenue is still the city water. But from 41st Avenue on is Soquel Creek water. So the city participates with us and provides that water, but most of that water is coming from the river. But they do get anywhere between 2 and 500 acre feet a year out of their wells that are in the Pleasure Point area. And that's why they're part of our agency as well.
Thank you for the good explanation. You did a great job. Thank you.
It's pretty complex.
It is. And it's made more complex by the geology of the area and kind of the political boundaries of these water purveyors. So you have your own well.
Yeah.
And
I share a well with my neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so talk with us a little bit, because one of my goals in having you here today is to inform other people who have private wells to understand what is going on in the groundwater basin, how that might affect them, and how will it affect them going forward? Are there going to be meters required, fees required? What do people have to look forward to?
Sure. So one more thing to say there. You said complex. We have 7 aquifers under us here, and they're in a layer cake formation, and they slope downwards towards Aptos and La Selva. And so the ones that you can get at easily up here where we are, or where Dominica Hospital is, or something like that, are very different. Those sort of disappear way down into the ground by the time you get down to the Seascape Golf Course, and so they're using different aquifer systems, and that water is not just sitting there stable.
Right.
It's gradually moving towards the ocean and towards Watsonville.
Out under the bay. It comes out under the bay.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. Somebody told me back in the 1800s, you could have a ship out in the Monterey Bay and you could put a bucket over the side and come up with fresh water.
In a certain place.
Because fresh water floats on top of salt water.
Yeah.
So there used to be so much outflow from the aquifer systems and the mountains when nobody was here.
Yeah.
That it would go out into the bay. But and it still does. They measure that on a regular basis of how much is moving as an outflow. But
how do they measure that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We have hydrologists we have as consultants, and they have ways that they look at the flow. And I should say that not only measuring it, we then have a very complex groundwater model.
Yes.
That we had constructed. It's a software model, but it's been very carefully calibrated to actually meet, if you go back and look at the historical record of how much water came down in rainfall, and how much was pumped by the various groups, and looking at the wet years and the dry years and trying to get that all built into the model, they've gradually tweaked that until it's pretty accurate. And then we can use that to kind of project forward. What do we think is going to happen, as you said? Because we're not in a stable environment here. We have potential seawater increases in levels over the next 100 years, even over the next 50 years. I think the projections are something like 2.5. I better not say if it's inches or feet. Can't remember.
It depends on which model you look at, I think.
But it's going to increase, I think it's feet, by the turn of the century.
That's what I have read, too.
So, and some people are saying that maybe not enough, that maybe we're actually going to see more of that.
I've heard extraordinary.
So we have to factor that into the groundwater model.
Yeah.
We have to factor in population increases.
Right. And
because
you look at AMBAG's housing.
I was going to say, AMBAG, the Association of Monterey Bay Governments, requires us from the state down to the regional grouping to provide for a certain percentage of the population increases that they project. And so that gets distributed by Capitola, Live Oak,
Yeah.
Aptos.
Yeah. And those numbers are kind of staggering. It's like almost 6,000, between 4 and 6,000 new units that must be built by in the next 7 years.
And so far, what's been working for us is that because we have new technologies in terms of water flow and how much the toilets use and low flow shower heads, and that we have been able to, and the city, which gets more of this than we do, has been able to accommodate that without seeing their overall amount of water that they're having to generate go up very much.
Yes. I attend the Santa Cruz County Water Advisory Commission meetings, headed up by Miss Sierra Ryan, who is in so many places. I don't know how she does it all, but she recently submitted the water status report for the current water year, and our use again is the lowest that it has been in 20 years.
Yeah.
This is the third year coming into that. So great job conserving water.
We're all doing a great job with that, and it makes a huge difference that we're doing.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And what that means for the groundwater, since we're talking about the MGA, that means that we don't have to pump as much out of the ground, and so we can maintain levels that are almost holding us sustainable against the sea. And we also just have to have a certain groundwater level generally. It's not just because of the sea.
Yeah.
And we're almost doing that. So I wanted to just tell you, like, of the 19 monitoring wells that we have at the coast for seawater intrusion, in 2016, 12 of those wells were not meeting the minimum thresholds that we've established. That is, the MGA has established that minimum threshold. Nobody else has foisted it on us. That's our doing the research and looking at what our historic levels are and what we could sustain. And if we went below that, it would have undesirable results. So in 2016, 12 of those were not meeting minimum thresholds. In 2024, 8 out of the 19 are not. So we've done a good job.
Making progress.
We're making good progress relatively quickly in the scale that we're talking about here. But we still have further to go, and we're not going to get there by conserving any more water because we've done such a great job. There is really very little water left to conserve, and we're going to have eventually some more people.
Yeah.
At least in our basin. Certainly they are in Santa Cruz, but I think it's going to eventually come to us a little bit too.
It will.
And yet, as they come, it's been amazing to me to see that we're able to accommodate that because it used to be everybody had these toilets that flushed, I've forgotten how many gallons every time you flush a toilet, and now it's very different, and low flow shower heads, and so it has made a big difference, and we're doing okay there, but we're not going to be able to just conserve our way out of this situation, and we still have essentially what we would say is officially we still have an overdraft situation in the aquifers because we're not meeting these minimum thresholds in some certain locations, and many we are. Our overall groundwater levels are stable. They've risen a lot from the 80s and 2000s.
Yeah.
And so we're in much better shape. But where we want to go in terms of setting our goals to be sustainable, we need to do a little bit better. And we're not going to get there by just turning off the water when you brush your teeth.
It adds up, though.
that helps, but we're already doing a lot of that. When you look at the gallons per person per day that we're doing in this county, it's incredibly low.
Yeah,
it's really great.
It is.
But we do still have to have more. We still have to pump less out of the ground, and consequently, that's where we have developed several different programs that we've reported the state that we need to do, and the principal one of which is Pure Water SoCal, because we need to put more water into the ground to keep the seawater from coming in. and maintain that wedge that we talked about.
Yeah. And the city is also doing some good projects, too, with the aquifer storage recovery, where they're taking potable water, not the treated sewage water that the Pure Water SoCal has, but potable water, and they're injecting that and storing it in the aquifer and then pumping it out later.
But that's the point. It has to pump it out again, especially in dry years, which is the hardest time for the groundwater level.
Yeah.
So that ASR, Aquifer Storage and Recovery, is principally a way for them to have, what do you call it in a lawnmower? We have a generator, that maintains a certain thing, that because they have this river water that's going away. They can only use it at certain times. They want to be able to save some of that for future use, and that's what they can do with ASR.
Yeah.
But it doesn't raise our groundwater levels. So it's not going to fix the larger big problem for us. It's huge for them.
If they pump it in and not pump it out, then it would improve the conditions. Their idea is that they will pump it out in dry years, but if we don't have dry years, then I don't know.
We have dry years regularly, and the projections are that we're going to have more of them. So
that's the model.
What's going to happen is, we're already starting to see it. We get periods of dry, and you get an intense amount of rain all at once, which makes it harder for it all to seep into the ground, by the way. It's going to run off more out.
Those of us who live in the mountains know that, right, John?
Yeah. And you have to manage it, for one thing.
Right.
And the county's trying to do a couple of things of finding ways to capture that runoff.
Yeah.
But our geology is not such that we can do a major project like, for instance, they're doing in LA County, where they have these huge culverts to grab that runoff water and put it through some kind of filters and then let it go into the groundwater. We don't have a decent amount of geology to do that on any kind of scale. We are trying that, and the county's looked at it, and we've got some programs. One of them's in the polo grounds out in Uplands. And we're doing that, but that's my 60 acre feet maybe.
Yeah.
So I mean, we need 1,500 acre feet here.
Yeah.
And even the city is 800 maybe or something like that. But it is going to come back out. I mean, the whole purpose of that is that it's got to be able to be recovered. Aquifer storage and recovery.
Well, let's focus a little bit on private well owners.
Yeah.
Because you are one,
yeah.
And I'm a customer of one, and I really wanted to get out information to other private well owners, what the Mid-County Groundwater Agency is and how they can be involved in it. You are a representative of the private well owners on that. Talk with us a little bit about that.
So there are 2 representatives from each of those 4 agencies I mentioned on the board, so that's 8. And then there are 3 private well owner representatives who are appointed by the board. So the board itself has, of course, their agencies appoint whoever's on there for them. But for instance, 2 supervisors in our area are part of that, representing the county, and then board members from the various Soquel Creek and Central, and then I'm not sure how city decides who comes to be on it, because we've had different representatives, but they have 2 representatives. But always we then have, since the beginning of our agency, 3 private well owners. And this was not required by SGMA. This is something that this agency decided to do and had been doing already with the BIG, which was the Basin Implementation Group, and the SAGMAC, which was the Soquel Aptos Groundwater Management Committee, which I was also involved with. Those were the precursors that were already doing this kind of work to try to lower the amount of water that we were using and to manage the groundwater. That was already happening for us before the state came and made their law. So to back up then and say, we have these 3 private well owner representatives who are appointed, and they each serve a 2-year term. There's also 1 alternate, just like the other agencies have each an alternate in case one of their 2 directors can't come. between the three of us, we also have an alternate. And that person serves a 2-year term.
Let me just interject that there's another groundwater sustainability agency in our county,
Yeah.
in a different part of the county, Scotts Valley and up in the north. That's the Santa Margarita
Yes.
Groundwater Agency. And currently, if you're a listener up there or know somebody that is, they are looking for private well representatives. Their agency has, I believe, 2, and it's the private well owners that select them. It's a little different.
It's different.
So you can find more information about that on the Santa Margarita Groundwater Sustainability Agency's website. How do we find more about you?
Well, there's a website called midcountygroundwater.org, and we're in the process of upgrading that. I'm not sure when that new website style is going to show up, but it'll have more information and more resources available. But it already does have information about the sustainability plan and about the board activities, and there's a whole section about private well owners on there.
Yeah.
And in the past, when we first started, we did a lot of workshops before we created our groundwater sustainability plan. I think we had 17 or 19 workshops.
Yeah.
And invited members of the public to that, and also appointed individual representatives from a bunch of different stakeholder groups,
Right.
including, the fish and
Environmental,
Yeah, yeah.
industrial,
Right.
a lot of different interest groups.
Right.
Yeah, it
So
was great.
so we did that to start with, and those sessions are still available somewhere online. I think you can get to them from our website.
Yeah.
That they're long, but they have a lot of information that everybody had to sort of go through an orientation of learning about all these issues and how they interconnect with each other.
Yeah.
For instance, stream flow is a whole other thing besides seawater intrusion. right?
Oh, yes.
So the 3 representatives for the private well owners have to consider the interests and concerns of residential users in the hills and the small water system users and the institutional users and the ag users. So those are all areas that we have to represent on the board. And we vote, as everyone else does.
Yeah.
And
And you're the chairman of that board.
this year I happen to be the chairman.
You do a very good job, I will say.
But I'm here to speak to you as a private well. I'm not here trying to speak for the board
No.
or as the chair. But I have to say, all the way along, this organization has operated very consensually and coordinated and collaboratively.
Yeah.
The executive committee is actually made up of 4 different people from 4 different parts of that organization, as I mentioned, and the board has been very almost unanimous in a lot of its decision making.
I have seen that.
And there's certainly a robust amount of questioning and discussion about certain issues, but overall, we've been very together compared to other boards that I've been on. But what I would say, you asked about the effects on private well owners. One of the things that's just occurred this year is that we're into our 5th year of looking at how do we fund our activity. And in the first 5 years when we formed, we just agreed we would keep going with the initial funding mechanism that had been in place before the MGA was formed, which is a sort of proportional between those 4 agencies. But now we're taking another look at that. As we said in the GSP, it actually said we would revisit that to look at alternative sources of funding or whether that funding was equitably distributed. And we've begun to do that now using a consultant, and we've had a number of discussions about it. And as you know, we had a large public meeting when we first announced this to the public that there could possibly be a small administrative charge that we were going to assess to each individual parcel. All of a sudden, we had
standing room only
show up at the meeting
on St. Patrick's Day.
Let me get just a drink of water.
Yeah. For those of you who are just tuning in, I'm honored to have here as my guest Mr. John Kennedy, one of the 3 private well owner representatives on the Mid-County Groundwater Agency, telling us more about what the MGA, Mid-County Groundwater Agency, is and how private well owners in particular can become involved.
So we always would encourage people to show up at the board meetings. We meet once a quarter now at the Capitola Library.
It's coming up this week.
This next Thursday.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a presentation about the AEM and analysis at that.
Explain what AEM is.
So, aerial magnetic surveys, which is a way from a helicopter in this case of measuring the activity in the water.
Yeah.
That by electric feedback they can tell what the salinity is at different layers in the water.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have, and we did a large survey in 2017, and the state did another survey in 2022, and we actually did another land-based survey just recently. And the consultants are going to give us a report about how those results jive with each other, what they learn from looking at more than one set of
data.
And
that'll be interesting.
Yeah. So that's going to be this coming Thursday at 6:00 is the meeting, and it's one of the things on the agenda.
At the Capitola Library.
Capitola Library. And there's always space for people to sit there. There's time where people can give public comment. It's not a place where people can ask questions, but it is a place where people can make a public comment about any of the issues that are on the agenda. And we did do the one large meeting that we hadn't done for a while, because we had something new to talk about. and that process of deciding how we are going to do any different kind of funding than what we do is going to take at least another year. We're not going to make any kind of immediate decision, and we need to get more information. We're looking at how other GSAs in the state deal with this situation. So
the situation being how private well owners would help fund the operation and continuance of the Groundwater Sustainability Agency?
Right. So we are required to report to the state, and that costs money for consultants and for writing the things. And we get a lot of grants, which is great, but you can't count on the grants going forward. We've been very successful. Our group, thank you, Tim, has been...
Tim Carson, right? He's at the Community Foundation.
Yeah, I mean, we've been extraordinarily successful. The state likes us. The state likes us because we were an early provider of our GSP with very little pushback from them. They had one little thing they wanted us to
do. And the GSP was?
The Groundwater Sustainability Plan that was required to be submitted in January of 2020.
Yeah.
And we got it in very quickly.
Yeah, one of the first to be approved by the state.
And the state really has watched us because they know that we have a large... We are mostly groundwater here, other than the city's part that comes in from... But, otherwise we're reliant on the groundwater. In some places they get several kinds of sources, but and we also have the sea. So we have issues here that makes us a high priority basin to them, because not only are we overdrafted, but the overdraft then causes the potential for seawater intrusion, which, as I just mentioned to you, when we just look at the most recent report we just did, the water year report last year that came out in March or April or something like that, still shows us as having some of these proxy wells right at the coast not meeting their minimum threshold. Sure, it's fine if we haven't hit our management objectives. We're supposed to get that by 2040.
2040. We've got a little time, but
And we're gradually creeping up towards
Yeah.
those, but we have a couple of places where we're going in the other direction, and those couple of wells way down past Seascape, way down in La Selva, are tripping up at a different angle than we would like. I'll show you one well that well.
Oh, yeah.
You can see
Where is the location of that well?
Sumner-
He's showing me, for you
Sumner.
out there listening, he's showing me a graph with
Sumner Avenue.
Sumner Avenue.
Yeah, and this is not the deepest well. This is the well that's only at 240. I told you the number.
Yeah.
And it's you see that it started to settle out in like the 2018 area, but now it's been going up disturbingly. So, and we have two wells like that down there. It's not just one.
And what has changed? What's maybe causing that?
We don't know.
Agricultural pumping? Or-
Well, we don't know, but it's at the very, as I mentioned, it's at the very edge of our
Yeah.
border, and right over the border there's a large sucking sound
yeah.
that we
In
don't have
sandy
any control
soil.
over. We don't have any control over that.
Yeah.
But we are still pumping too much from the Aromas aquifer system, which is the sandier soil down there at the very southeastern area. We need to reduce, and we have, there used to be a production well there for Soquel Creek that was using 500 acre feet a year. It's only pumping 50 acre feet a year there. And we may have to, just not even do that. I mean,
Yeah.
so, there's a larger area there, and we had to draw a line for the state of what the boundary would be for where we would allow seawater intrusion, and we drew the line at that location. We did a big kind of a semicircle further inland because there are already known places there with higher salinity, but it's still continuing to go up above what it was. Seriously up above what it was. So we need to do more there. And we hope that the injection of pure water will give us more of a wedge that will contribute, because all that water is going to run southeast.
So that injected water at Aptos near Cabrillo College would run toward Seascape?
It's going to go into the ground, and it's supposed to take a long time to move anywhere.
Yeah,
But
years.
It's contributing to the groundwater levels right away, and then who knows how the groundwater levels adjust themselves laterally? I don't know that.
Well, I think when there's an earthquake, that all changes too.
What's interesting is those layers between the aquifers are almost entirely impermeable.
Oh, wow.
Permeable.
So there's no movement from one layer to the next.
Very, very little. It's really that they each go their own diagonal way downhill.
Interesting.
In layers. And we, of course, within the basin have wells at different layers in different places for pumping out. But to go back to private well owners.
Yeah.
We're
Are they going to have to all be metered?
No.
And are they going to have to pay based on the amount they pump?
They're not going to be metered, and in fact, the law specifically exempts de minimis users, that is, residential users who are only using it for their own residential purpose. Who are
Maybe shared with one other person?
But it's per parcel of under 2 acre feet, and most people are using maybe a half an acre foot or maybe a quarter of an acre foot. Our latest things look like from looking at the small water systems that it's about a quarter of an acre foot per household, which is kind of what the county sees. They see maybe even lower there, but they don't have any land around them.
And most rural lots also have the recharge of septic systems.
Yeah. And there's an ongoing dialogue back and forth amongst various people
sure there is.
About whether or not that actually gets down further into the ground. But yes, certainly in a residential house with a septic system in the hills, somewhere between 60 and 80% of that water is getting returned into the septic system, which then goes into a leach field, which is only 6 feet underwater. So what happens at that point compared to an aquifer, which is further down, is the dialogue.
That's the discussion.
Yeah.
Well, we've got about 5 minutes
Okay.
left. I really want to thank you for joining us here today and for your good information and your public service.
Thank you.
So I really want private well owners to get involved. How do they get involved?
Come to the meetings, read some of the information on the website, read the report if you can handle it. There's a short summary we have of the groundwater sustainability plan.
And it's at the public libraries.
And which is very available. We'd be glad to make that available to anybody else who would like to see it. And it gives it in 4 or 5 pages what is otherwise, I don't know how long our plan really is. I think
it's a couple inches thick.
It's like 400 pages.
But very good.
But read that and come to the meetings. We've had from time to time sort of office hours for the private well owners where we've met at the Community Foundation and invited anybody that wants to come. We've tried them at 10 in the morning and we've tried them at 5 in the evening, and hardly anybody comes. So
until you start talking
as
about
soon as we
money,
talk about dollars.
and so, is there a possibility that private well owners could have to start paying something?
Sure, there's a possibility. Is there a possibility that the sea is going to come up to us? Yes. We don't know yet whether or not the board will go in that direction. We got very clear feedback from that public meeting that people were very upset with the idea.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's a question of how much effort is it worth to get the amount of money that we would get, because the amount of money that we would ask for would be very little, and it would be a lot of work to get it because it's spread across 1,900 or 2,000 parcels.
Yeah.
And it would be, so we're still looking at that as a board, and frankly, nobody has gotten anywhere near taking positions on that. It's just that we need to look at alternative sources of funding, and we also need to look at everybody's a part of the basin.
Right.
Are we all we're all benefiting from the work that the MGA does. Certainly the people that are down near the coast are more immediately impacted if there were seawater intrusion.
Yeah.
And people in the hills can say, well, I don't care if you have seawater intrusion, but it's really not a good idea to get salt into your aquifers.
Right. We've all got a straw in the same glass.
That's right. So that's really what it comes down to, is the hassle of going after individual residential people versus the wanting to be a part of the entire effort and share in the, if you will, the administrative burden of what the state puts on us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're debating that, and we will be for somewhere from 9 to 12 months at least before we come to a decision.
Do you plan to have any public or any private well owner meetings per se in the next year?
Not right now. If we do at all move towards thinking of actually charging, I'm sure that we will have some educational meetings and some opportunity for more feedback from the public.
Excellent.
If we don't, I don't know if we will. We've talked about that, and people are of different opinions because we've tried to do that before. If there's not a fish in the bowl right in front of you, people don't necessarily show up to throw a line in there. So we don't want to take the effort if we just get the same old 5 people show up.
Yeah.
We want to educate the public, and to the extent that we can. So that's why I would urge private well owners to read the summaries, look at the website. Certainly come to the board meeting. And the board meeting, again, is this next Thursday at 6 o'clock at the Capitola Library.
Excellent. MidCountyGroundwaterAgency.org.
Yes, that's it.
Thank you so much, John Kennedy, for all your good work and for being here today.
Thank you for providing the opportunity. Really appreciate having a chance to talk.
Thank you. My
Yeah,
pleasure.
thanks.
My pleasure. All right.